Standard 7, Subject English, Book Honeycomb. Good morning, students. Today we are going to continue with our lesson number 2, A Gift of Chappals by Vasanta Surya, Part 2. In the last video, we have seen that Mridu has come to her aunt's place to visit her with her grandparents. So we will continue with the second part. So let us start. Mridu crept up to the window. Lali was sitting a little distance away, awkwardly holding her violin and bowstring. So in the previous video we have ended as if there was some sound, and because of that sound the Mridu and the little kitten, they were afraid. So when Mridu is asking that what is that sound about, at that time Rabi just told her that it is the sound of Lali learning to play violin. So to see how she is learning, what Mridu is doing, she is just going and creeping up to the window. So where Lali and her master, they were sitting and learning, at that place there was a small window. So these children, they just went over there to look inside the window what it was happening. So she just crept up means she's trying to look into the window, and when she looked inside she saw Lali was sitting in a inside the room. In where she was standing, from there it was little bit distanced away, and she was very awkwardly holding her violin and bowstring. So bowstring means the thing or the stick with which we play the violin, and her elbows were jutting out, her eyes glazed with concentration. So her elbows, they were just coming out, and she was concentrating very much to try to play the violin. In front of her, with most of his back to the window, was a bony figure of the music master. So the next thing Mrudu saw, it was a bony figure. Bony figure means a person who is very thin. He was sitting under the window. So because of that, this Mridu, she was not able to see the face of that music master. She was only able to see the figure, and he was very thin. He had a mostly bald head with a fringe of oiled black hair falling around his ears and an old-fashioned tuft. So here the description of the music master, it is given that the music master, he was very thin, as well as he was bald. Bald means he was having very less hair on his head, and whatever little bit hair it was there on the back side, he has oiled it properly, and it was like old fashioned. Tuft means you must be knowing that your mother or you people, when you are having dupatta or sari, at the end small knots are being put at the end of the dupatta, so that is known as tuft. So, like a tuft, his hair, whatever hair were there, it was being tied down. A gold chain gleamed around his leathery neck, and a diamond ring glittered on his hand as it glided up and down the stem of the violin. So he was wearing a gold chain around his neck, as well as he was having a diamond ring on his hand, and with that hand he was just playing his violin while his hand was moving up and down. A large foot stuck out from beneath his gold-bordered veshti edge, and he was beating time on the floor with a scrawny big toe. So to hold the violin, his foot, it was stuck out of a gold-bordered veshti. Veshti means dhoti. So his foot was outside the Veshti, and he has put his foot in on the floor in a very scrawny thin big toe. It was there outside the Veshti, where this Mrudu, she can see the foot of this master. He played a few notes. Lali stumbled behind him on her violin, which looked quite helpless. So he was playing some notes on his violin while Lali was unable to play behind him, and she was just dragging back, and she was not able to cope up with the way the master was playing the violin, and she was looking very helpless as she was not able to play as her master. As you can see, the children, they are just peeping inside from the window, and they are just listening to the music played by the music master and Lali. What a difference! The music master's notes seemed to float up and settle perfectly into the invisible tracks of the melody. So when these children, they were listening, at that time Ravi is telling to Mridu and Meena that what, see the difference between Lali and her master's note. So when the master is playing the violin, it seems that music, it is floating up, and the tracks, they are very melodious. So it was like the wheels of a train fitting smoothly into the rails and whizzing along, as Ravi said. So he is giving the example of the train. He is mentioning that as the train, the wheel of the train, how it smoothly moves one after another, and the sound which it produces. So he gives the example of wheels of the train, and he mentions that the music of the master, it is like a wheels whizzing along, and how nicely he plays the violin. Mridu stared at that huge, bearing hand moving effortlessly up the violin's stem, making lovely music. So, as Ravi said this, Mridu, she was just observing the bearing hand. Bearing means the hand which was having the ring, or the finger which was he was having the ring on it, and she was observing the hand which was moving very effortlessly up and down to play the lovely music of violin. Quack! There was Lali derailing again. So again there was a strange sound coming, and what was that sound? It was again Lali not able to play the music properly, so she was just making a very bad noise from while playing the violin. Amma, came a wail from the gate. Amma, oh. So during that time, from outside, somebody was calling Amma, and the sound was coming from outside the way, outside the gate. So wail means shouting with loud noise or voice. So there was a sound coming, and it was calling Amma, and in this sound it was coming from outside the gate. Ravi, send that beggar away, cried his mother from the back veranda where she was chatting with Tapi. So when this sound was coming, when the sound was heard, at that time Ravi's mother, she is telling to Ravi that send that beggar away from here, because and tell him to go somewhere else and ask for the alms. And while she said this, she was chatting with Tapi. Tapi means that Ridu's grandmother. He has been coming here every day for the past week, and it's time he found another house to beg from. Pati explained to Tapi. So when the mother told Ravi to send the beggar away from there, at that time Ravi's grandmother, she is explaining to Mrudu's grandmother that this beggar, he is continuously coming from the past 1 week, and now it is time for him to find another house to ask for something. Mridu and Meena followed Ravi out. The beggar was already in the garden, making himself quite at home. So, as mother told Ravi to tell to the beggar to go somewhere else, so Ravi, he just went towards the beggar, and Mridu and Meena also followed Ravi. So while they were walking towards the beggar, they saw already the beggar, he has entered the garden and he was making himself comfortably being sitting in the garden. He had spread his upper cloth under the neem tree and was leaning against its trunk, apparently prepared to take a little snooze while he waited for the ants to appear. So, while they were just reaching near the beggar, they saw that the upper cloth means the cloth which they have, like like many people in the South Indian, they have the like towel, they wear it on the shoulder, that is known as upper cloth. So he has taken his upper cloth and he just put that down on the garden, and he was getting ready to sit over there leaning on the trunk of the neem tree, and he was waiting over there so that till the alms means money or food which the beggar gets from the people. So he was getting ready to take a snooze, or he was getting ready to sleep for some time before getting the food or money from them, from Ravi's mother. "Go away," said Ravi sternly. "My party says it's time you found another house to beg from." So when the Ravi reached near the beggar, he just told this beggar that you just go away. My party means grandmother, she told that it is time that you just find another house to beg from. So you don't have anything from here now. So you just go somewhere else to find the food. The beggar opened his eyes very wide and gazed at each of the children one by one. So as soon as Ravi told him to find another house, he was little bit surprised. So as he was getting ready to sleep, when he heard this, his eyes were wide open now, and he was looking at each of the children one by one. "The ladies of this house," he said at last in a voice choked with feelings, "are very kind souls." So he just looked at the children and he said that the ladies of this house, so the women in this house, they are very good or kind souls. So when he was speaking this, he was choked means when he was emotionally, he was very much emotional, and because of becoming more emotional, he was not able to speak properly. So his sound was choking from the throat, and he just continued that, "I have kept my body and soul together on their generosity for a whole week." And he just continued that, "I am able to survive because of their generosity, because they provided me food to eat from the last 1 week, and because of that I was able to survive, otherwise I would have died because of hunger. I cannot believe that they would turn me away." And he just continued that, "I don't believe that they are not going to help me and they are going to send me away from here." He raised his voice, "Amma, Amma, oh." Sad his wail might be, but it certainly wasn't feeble. So he just, he was not able to believe that the ladies of this house, they just said no to give him food. So he just mentioned that I don't believe that they are not going to give me food. So he just started raising his voice and he just called out more loudly. It began in a deep, strong rumble somewhere in his withered belly and came booming out of his mouth with its few remaining teeth stained brown with betel chewing. So he was just shouting out very loud and calling the lady or the woman in the house, and he was not able to he was just crying out so loudly so that the women they just come out and help him out, and whatever energy he was having in his he was just shouting out with all his energy from his body. Ravi, tell him there is nothing left in the kitchen called Rukumani and he is not to come again. Tell him that. She sounded fed up. So when this beggar he was continuously calling out Amma, Amma, at that time Ravi's mother she just shouted out again at Ravi and told him that tell the beggar that there is nothing left in the kitchen. There is nothing to give him, and also inform the beggar that from tomorrow onwards he is not supposed to come over here. And from the way which she was talking it was very clear that she was very tired and unhappy because of this beggar. Ravi didn't have to repeat it all to the beggar. What his mother said had been easy for them all to hear there under the neem tree, and the beggar sat up and sighed. So, as this Ravi's mother, she shouted and told Ravi to say these words to beggar, it was not at all needed for Ravi to repeat all these things again to the beggar because she spoke these things so loudly that it was heard by everyone, those who were standing near the beggar. So there was no need for Ravi to repeat all those things. And when he heard this, as he was getting ready to take a nap, he slowly stood up and sat near the neem tree, and when he got up and sat there, he was sighing. Sighing means when we make a sound like huh. So like that, he was sighing with sadness. I will go, he said wearily. Only let me have a rest here under this tree. The sun is so hot, the tar has melted on the road. So he is just telling to the children that yes I will go, just wait for some time because I want to rest under this tree, as the sun it is shining very brightly and it is very hot, and because of the severe light of the sun, the tar on the road it has already been melted, and my feet are already blistered. So then he is just telling that, and because of that heat my feet they are already got burned because of this melted tar. So just let me take rest for few minutes, then I will go from here. He stretched out his feet to show large pink peeling blisters on the soles of his bare feet. And after telling the children, he just stretched out his folded legs and he just showed large pink blisters. Blisters means bubbles because of burns. It was been large bubbles on his feet, and he just showed all that peeling pink color blisters which were there on his bare feet. I suppose he doesn't have the money to buy chappals, Mridu whispered to Meena and Ravi. So when the children saw this big bubbles or boils on his feet. Mridu, she just whispered me, spoke very slowly to Meena and Ravi, and she just told them that I think so. This man, he is not having any money to buy chappals. Have you got an old pair in the house somewhere? And then she asked them that if there is any extra pair of old chappals in the house. I don't know, said Ravi. Mine are too small to fit his feet, or I would have given them to him. So when Mridu asked that whether there is any old pair of chappal in the house, at that time Ravi is replying, I don't know about any old pair of chappals, and he just told that my chappal, it will be very small for his feet, because the beggar's feet it is big, and as Ravi, he was a small boy, his chappals were very small for him, and his feet were larger than Mrudu's and Meena. So the same condition it was for Meena and Mridu. Their chappals were also smaller than the feet of the beggar. The beggar was shaking out his upper cloth and tightening his dhoti. He raised his eyes and looked fearfully at the road gleaming in the afternoon heat. So slowly the beggar, he just got up, and he just took back the upper cloth which he has laid down on the surface to take a rest, and he was just tightening his dhoti. Tightening his dhoti, and after taking the upper cloth and tightening the dhoti, he just looked up on the sky, where he was looking on the fearful, or he just looked on the sky to see the hot lights coming out from the sun, and then he just looked onto the road which was gleaming, or it was like melted, that all the tar, it was being melted in the heat of the sun. He needs something on his feet, Meena said, her big eyes filling. It's not fair. So when the children saw this beggar, they felt very sad about him. And at that time, Meena is telling that he needs something to wear on his feet. So she said that he needs something on his feet, because you can see his feet are very badly injured, and he's having very big boils or bubbles on the burns on his feet because of the heat of the sun. And while she was saying this, her eyes, it was filled with tears, because she felt very sad while looking at the condition of the beggar, said Ravi. I'm thinking about it. Blubbering, it's not fair, isn't going to help. So when she said this statement at that time, just Ravi, he is making Meena to keep quiet, and he's telling that just speak slowly. I'm thinking of a way how to help this beggar. And he was mumbling, blubbering means he was talking to himself in a very slow sound, and it is not fair, it is not fair, it is not going to help, and in 2 minutes he will be frying his feet on that road, and what he needs is a pair of chappals. And then Ravi continued that it is not fair, he will be walking without the chappal on the road again. If he is walking, what is going to happen again? His feet will be burned again, and it is going to hurt him more. So the most important thing for him now is a pair of chappals. And now the question was, from where these children, they were supposed to give him the chappal. What he needs is a pair of chappals. So where do we get them? Come, let's search the house. He pushed Mridu and Meena into the house. So Ravi, as he was just talking, he just said that the most important thing now is the chappals, because without the chappals, the beggar he will be hurting his legs again. So we have to anyhow search for a chappal for the beggar. And then he is pushing Mridu and Meena inside the house in search of a chappal for the beggar. Just as she stepped into the veranda, Mridu's eyes fell on the odd looking chappals she had noticed when she arrived. She whispered to Ravi, "Whose are those?" So, as they were just going inside the house in search of Chappal, and when they stepped down into the veranda, Mrudu's eyes fell on the strange looking Chappal when she came to Ravi's house. And then she is very in a slow voice, she is whispering to Ravi and asking that whose Chappal are those. Ravi turned and glanced at the shabby looking but sturdy old slippers. So when Mrudu asked about the chappals, he just turned back and looked at the shabby looking means old and worn out. Very old slippers it were. So he just looked back at the old bad looking chappals. He beamed and nodded. "These are just the right size," he said, picking them up. Mridu and Meena followed him nervously back into the garden. And as Ravi turned back and he looked at the chappal, he didn't want to or he didn't knew the answer whose chappals were those. He just looked at it and he just said that these are the perfect size for the beggar. And he just picked those chappals and he just walked towards the garden where the beggar was standing. And this Meena and Mridu, they just followed Ravi nervously back into the garden. "Here," said Ravi to the beggar, dropping the slippers in front of the old man, "wear these and don't come back." The beggar stared at the slippers and hurriedly flung his towel over his shoulder, pushed his feet into them, and left, muttering a blessing to the children. And in a minute he had vanished around the corner of the street. So this Ravi took the odd looking chappals from the veranda and he just put that in front of the beggar, and he just told the beggar that here the slippers are. He just wear these chappals and don't come back here again. And when the chappal were dropped in front of the beggar he was very much surprised and he was looking at the slippers, and then he wore that slippers and the towel or the upper cloth which he was having, he put that upper cloth on his shoulder. Then immediately he put his feet inside them and he left from there as soon as possible. And while going he was muttering means he was speaking hurriedly and he was blessing the children for giving him a chappal because his feet were already injured because of the blisters. And because of these children, now he would not have to walk on that hot road. So they gave him the chappal. So he was just giving blessing to those children. And within a minute, he vanished around. Vanish around means he just vanish means in Hindi it is known as gayab. So he just vanished around from the corner of the street. He just went away from there. The music master came out of the house and took up an unappreciative look at the three of them sitting quietly under the tree and playing marbles. So while the time as it passed, after some time, the music master, after the class of violin, he just came out of the house and he was not at all very much pleased with the three children, those who were sitting quietly under the tree and playing marbles. And then he searched for his chappals in the veranda where he had put them. And after looking at the children sitting under the tree, he just started looking or searching for the chappals which he had kept on the veranda while going inside the house. Lali, he called. After a few moments, she hurried up to him and, have you seen my chappals, my dear? I remembered having kept them here. So then, as the master was not able to find his chappals from the veranda from where he had kept it, and then at that time he is just calling out for Lali, and then he is telling that, uh, have you seen my chappals? I have kept my chappals over here, and I remember properly that I have kept my chappals here. Ravi, Mrudu, and Meena silently watched Lali and the music master search every corner of the veranda. So the children, that is Ravi, Mrudu, and Meena, they were still sitting under the tree and they were just watching Lali and her music teacher searching every corner of the veranda. He scurried around, looking over the railing and crouching near the flower pot to look between them. So they saw the music master. He was looking for something, and he was walking around in a hurried manner, and he was looking inside the flower pots near the railing. Railing means like a fence. It is there, and he was looking above it. He was looking near the flower pots, and then he said, brand new they were. I went all the way to Mount Road to buy them. He went on saying, they cost a whole month's fees. Do you know? And then he continued to tell this Lali that my chappals, they were brand new. It was very new chappal, and I went all the way to Mount Road. So it is a place, Mount Road, and he is informing Lali that I went to Mount Road to buy this chappal and they were very costly. And he is informing Lali that it cost him almost 1 month's fees to buy those chappals. Soon Lali went in to tell her mother. Rukmani appeared, looking harassed with party following her. So as soon as they were not able to find the Chappals anymore, Lali went inside the house to call her mother, and she told her about the master was not able to find his chappal. So Rukumani, she just came out of the house, and when she was coming out, she was looking harassed. She was not happy. She was in a very bad mood. And this Ravi's party, that is grandmother, was also following his mother. Where could they be? It's really quite upsetting to think someone might have stolen them. So many vendors come to the door, worried party. So when the mother and the party, they just came out, they just asked that where this chappal would have gone. So it is really upsetting that somebody has taken or stolen the chappals from the veranda, and then grandmother is telling this master that already many vendors means salesmen, those who come for door to door selling something. So many vendors are coming over here to sell, and might be some of the any one of the vendor might have taken the chappal. Rukmani caught sight of Ravi, Mrudu, and Meena sitting under the tree. Have you children? She began, and then, so as they were searching over there, Rukmani, she saw children Meena, Mrudu, and Ravi sitting under the tree, and she just started the question that, have you children? And she began seeing that they were very curiously quiet, went on more slowly, and she asked, seen anyone lurking around the veranda. So she was little bit curious, as these children, they were still sitting under the tree and they were not coming near. And she just slowly asked them that, have you seen anyone moving around this veranda? A sharp, V-shaped line had formed between her eyebrows. Another straight, tighter one appeared in place of her usually soft, pleasant mouth. Rukmani was angry, thought Mridu with a shiver. She would not be so upset if she knew about the poor beggar with sores on his feet, and she tried to tell herself. So, as Rukumani, she was asking the children that if they have seen anybody walking around or lingering around the veranda. At that time, Mridu observed that Rukumani, she was very angry. So with the anger, she has formed a V shape near her eyebrows. And she is thinking that usually Rukumani, she is very soft and pleasant mouth, but now she is looking very angry. And because of the thought of that, Mridu was having a shiver. She wouldn't be upset if she knew about the poor beggar with sores on his feet, and she tried to tell herself. And she just thought that if my aunt will know about the poor beggar's suffering or the injured leg, then she would not be angry. And she was trying to convince herself that when my aunt will come to know about the poor beggar and his sores, she will not be angry anymore. Taking a deep breath, she cried, Rukmani, there was a beggar here. Poor thing, he had such boils on his feet. And taking all his whatever courage she was having, she just take a deep breath and she started to tell what had actually happened. And she told that there was a beggar here and he was having boils on his feet. So, said Rukmani grimly, turning to Ravi. You gave the music master's chappal to that old beggar who turns up here. So when she just told this much, immediately Rukmani is inquiring, so what happened about the beggar? So she just turned towards Ravi and she just continued her conversation that, so you have given the chappal of music master to that old beggar who is coming every day over here. Children these days groaned party. So the the mother, she was trying to starting to scold these children, the party in between, she just started saying thing by saying that children these days, and she was just groaning. Groaning means shouting and angry on the children. Amma, didn't you tell me about Karna who gave away everything he had? Even his gold earrings, he was so kind and generous. So immediately what happened? This children, this one of the child, he just said that, Amma, you only told us the story about Karna, that he was so generous that whatever he was having, he just gave away everything as charity, and he was having only his gold earrings, and he was so kind and generous that that gold earrings also he just gave away to the needy person. Silly, snapped Rukmani. Karna didn't give away other people's things. He only gave away his own. So when Ravi told that you only told us the story of Karna who has given everything because he was very generous and kind. So immediately Rukmani, he is just telling these children that yes, I told you about the story of Karna, but Karna, he was not giving away somebody else things. Whatever he was having, he was giving away his own things, not other people's things. But my chappals wouldn't have fitted the beggar's feet. Ravi rushed brashly on, and Amma, if they did fit, would you really not have minded? And as soon as mother told him that Karna used to give away his own things, not others, at that time, Ravi is just telling or explaining to his mother that my chappal, it would not have uh, fitted the beggar's feet, because mine, it is small and beggar needs a bigger one. And he just shouted angrily to his mother that if it would have fitted, Amma, you would not mind that if I would have given my own chappal to the beggar. Ravi, said Rukmani, very angry now, go inside this minute. So when he was arguing with his mother at that time, Rukmani, she became more angry and she just called out his name and told him that just get inside the house. She hurried indoors and brought out Gopu Mama's hardly worn new chappals. These should fit you, sir. Please put these on, and I am so sorry. My son has been very naughty. So she just went inside the house, and from there she brought Gopu Mama's new pair of chappals, and it was hardly worn by Gopu Mama. So it was brand new. And then she just drops that in front of the music master, and she tells the master that please wear this, and I am very sorry for the naughtiness of my son. The music master's eyes lit up and he put them on, trying not to look too happy. And as soon as the music master he saw the brand new chappals, he was very happy and his eyes were lit up because of that new shoes. He immediately put them on and he was not showing his emotions on his face that he was very happy with this brand new chappal, because the chappal which he was having, it was already very old and worn out chappal. So it is like a bonus for him that in return of that old chappal he got a brand new chappal without any expense. These days, children have no respect for elders. What to do? A Hanuman incarnate. Only Rama can save such a naughty fellow. So the music master, he just started saying that these days children are so naughty, they don't have any respect towards the elders. So what we can do? So he was telling that all the children, they are incarnate of Hanuman. So he was indirectly calling the children Hanuman. Only Rama can save such naughty fellow. And he said that only Lord Rama can save those naughty children. Rukmani's eyes flashed. She didn't seem to like Ravi being called a monkey, even a holy monkey. She stood stiff and straight by the front door. It was clear she wanted him to leave quickly. So when Rukmani heard about this, she was very much angry on hearing, and she didn't like that Ravi was being called a monkey, not also a holy monkey. So she just stood in front of the house door and she didn't want the music master to stand over there or in their house anymore. She just want him to leave from that place immediately. When he had clattered off in his new chappals, she said, Mrudu, come in and have some tiffin. So then immediately what happened? This music master, he wore this chappal and he just walked away from there. And then Rukumani is calling Mrudu and telling him to come inside and have some uh, tea or tiffin, that is type of breakfast. Honestly, how do you children think of such things? Thank God your Gopu Mama doesn't wear his chappals to work. So as she walked towards the kitchen with Mridu and Meena, she suddenly began to laugh. So as she was taking Mridu inside the kitchen to give her some breakfast. So she is telling this children, she is talking with the children that how you all can be thinking like in such a manner, and she is explaining, or she is just thanking the god that thank god Gopu mama is not wearing chappal to his office. If he would have worn this chappal and went to the office, then the music masters, what we would have done, because there were no chappals for music master to be given. And as she was walking towards the kitchen, she suddenly started laughing. But he is always in such a hurry to throw off his shoes and socks and get into his chappals as soon as he comes home. And then she suddenly laughs, and she is just telling this Mridu and Meena that I don't know what this Gopu Mama will do, because every time when he is coming in the afternoon from his office, he is always throwing away his shoes and socks, and immediately he wants his chappals to be there. So now I don't know what he is going to do while he comes back today in the evening. What's your mama going to say this evening when I tell him I gave his chappals to the music master? So she is just telling these children that today when your mama comes back, what I am going to tell him, that why I have given his chappals to the music master. In short, we can say that in this story, the author Vasant Surya wants to highlight the mischievous behavior, expressing their simplicity, their feeling, and their act of charity. The author also explores many themes like showing kindness to animals, giving away chappals to the beggar and then to the music teacher without hesitation because of the pure and kind heart of the children. I hope you understood this chapter. And now, home assignment. Complete the following sentences from the given slides, and you are supposed to write these sentences in your notebook. Now, from next week, as your exam starts for English paper, you have to read textbook properly, as internal questions will be asked from the lesson in the form of MCQs. So also learn textual meanings given in the textbook. Thank you for watching this video.